Jeudy's name was the first to flash across internal review boards when the Browns front office began its postseason audit. His $40 million contract, anchored by a $17.5 million cap hit, no longer read like an investment. It looked like a mistake. That perception hardened after a public spat with quarterback Shedeur Sanders revealed more than a chemistry issue. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. It was a tipping point for an organization struggling to reconcile star power with accountability. The clash didn't elevate standards. It exposed a vacuum. Instead of leading, Jeudy faltered. Outgained by a rookie tight end and outpaced by the demands of a role he was no longer equipped to fill. The Browns had seen enough. Andrew Berry and Jimmy Haslam are no longer building around flash. They're building around function. The Browns have pivoted away from high-priced underperformance towards structural clarity, funneling resources into offensive line reinforcements and targeting elite, draft-ready receivers who reflect the ethos they want around Sanders. This isn't about optics. It's about operational integrity. If the Browns are serious about turning Shedeur Sanders into a franchise quarterback, then the 2026 season must mark the moment Cleveland finally gets the environment right. Jeudy was supposed to be the guy. A $40 million receiver with a $17.5 million cap hit, brought in to anchor the Browns' offense and give young quarterback Shedeur Sanders a go-to weapon. Instead, he gave them 50 catches, 602 yards, and a full-blown embarrassment of the season, capped off by a very public clash with the team's future at quarterback. Not only did production not match the paycheck, but the attitude didn't either. And now, the Browns are done pretending this kind of thing is acceptable. The message couldn't be clearer. Underperformance paired with ego won't be tolerated anymore. Because while Jeudy was busy under-delivering, a rookie tight end, who came in with way less hype and way less money, put up better numbers. 72 receptions, 631 yards, and 6 touchdowns, all while staying quiet, consistent, and doing exactly what the team needed. That's not just a stat line. That's a red flag waving in Jeudy's direction. And when Shedeur Sanders, a rookie quarterback, tried to find his footing behind a collapsing offensive line, got into it with Jeudy midseason, it wasn't just a flare-up. It was the moment everything snapped into focus. The frustration, the lack of accountability, the disconnect between what the Browns had built and what they actually needed. Because here's the thing. Shedeur Sanders didn't have an easy road this season. His numbers, 1,400 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions in his final 7 starts, weren't jaw-dropping. But they showed something real, flashes of elite potential, signs that, when he had even the smallest amount of support, he could do serious damage. But more often than not, he didn't have it. Not the line, not the weapons, not the time. So the Browns finally looked at the situation and said, enough. Andrew Berry and the front office are officially over the days of throwing money at names and hoping they turn into leaders. The new approach? Build from the trenches out. Fix the foundation first. That means offensive linemen, guards, tackles, centers. Players who might not trend on Twitter, but actually give your quarterback a chance to survive. It also means the end of wishful thinking about certain high-profile contracts. Jeudy, welcome to the top of that list. The clash with Sanders didn't just expose tension, it exposed failure. A failure of culture, of evaluation, of leadership. When your supposed number one receiver is getting outperformed by a rookie tight end in nearly every category, you can't pretend that's fine. You can't justify it with talk about chemistry or adjusting to a new system. At some point, numbers tell the story. And Jeudy's told a story the Browns didn't want to keep reading. And let's be honest, this wasn't just about Jeudy. This was about a bigger, uglier pattern. One the Browns have been stuck in for years. Overpaying underperformers, handing out long-term deals with guaranteed money, and then being shocked when the results don't show up. Deshaun Watson's $80 million contract? Another example. He was benched this season, and that deal is still clogging up the team's flexibility, like a giant cap space sinkhole. And now, with Jeudy's underwhelming season, the Browns are sitting on 2 massive contracts that aren't giving them anywhere near the return they need. So Berry is pivoting. Hard. This offseason, the Browns are focused on getting Shedeur Sanders what he actually needs to succeed. Not just flashy names, but dependable, high-effort, coachable talent. That starts with rebuilding the offensive line from top to bottom. No more stopgap signings. No more plugging holes with journeymen. The front office has made it clear. They're investing serious capital into the line because they know protection is non-negotiable. And when it comes to receivers, they're not messing around there either. The plan is to use top draft picks on elite, All-American caliber wideouts. Not luxury pieces. Essentials. Players who can run crisp routes, catch in traffic, and, crucially, not start feuds with the quarterback on the sideline. These are culture-setting moves. A shift away from the idea that talent alone will save you. Because if Jeudy proved anything this year, it's that athletic ability without reliability is just wasted space on the field. And Sanders? He's now the centerpiece. The entire team is being rebuilt around him, and rightly so. Because despite the uneven stats, he's shown he can be the guy. You give him stability. He gives you flashes of brilliance. And that's all the Browns needed to see. Now they're going all in on giving him a real shot. It's a philosophical shift for the Browns, and honestly, it's long overdue. For years, this team has operated like a highlight reel waiting to happen, chasing big names, throwing money around, and hoping it all clicks. But that's not how winning franchises work. That's how you end up stuck in the middle, overpaying guys like Jeudy and Watson while rookies carry the weight. Andrew Berry is taking the opposite route now. There's a real understanding that development, especially at quarterback, depends on the environment. You don't just toss a young QB onto the field and hope for magic. You protect him. You surround him with dependable targets. You build structure. And finally, the Browns are doing that. Even Berry's public tone has changed. This isn't the vague, can GM speak we've gotten in the past. He's being open about the offensive failures. He's admitting they need to invest most in that side of the ball. That kind of honesty matters. It sends a signal, not just to fans, but to potential free agents. The Browns aren't pretending anymore. They're building something, and they want players who are serious about growing with it. So while Jeudy's future with the team looks increasingly shaky, the Browns are moving on, fast, and really, the timing couldn't be more critical. 2026 isn't just another year. It's a deadline. Jeudy's contract runs through it. Watson's cap situation still casts a shadow. And most importantly, it's Shedeur Sanders' third season, the make-or-break point where teams usually decide whether a quarterback is a long-term investment or a sunk cost. Everything the Browns do this offseason will feed into that decision. If they build smart, solid protection, high-character receivers, clear structure, they give Sanders a shot he deserves. And if he thrives, this team could finally break the cycle of disappointment. But if they miss again, if they keep clinging to underperformers and blowing cap space on empty hype, then it's just another wasted rebuild. Right now, though, there's hope. Because for the first time in a long time, the Browns seem to actually get it. They're not being seduced by star power. They're not pretending talent can make up for dysfunction. They're building with intention. And that starts by moving on from mistakes like Jerry Jeudy. The sideline blow-up with Sanders wasn't the cause of the problem. It was the spotlight. The moment everyone saw what was really going wrong. And from that moment on, the countdown started. Not just for Jeudy's time in Cleveland, but for the Browns' entire offensive identity. They've chosen their direction. They've chosen their quarterback. And now it's about whether they can follow through. So what do you think? Can the Browns finally turn around by cutting the dead weight and backing Shedeur Sanders with a real supporting cast? Or is this just another chapter in a never-ending cycle of Cleveland chaos? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you're tired of watching talent get wasted. Subscribe for more drama, breakdowns, and all the meltdowns you can't look away from. All right, let's keep going, because this saga isn't just about Jerry Jeudy versus Shedeur Sanders. It's about what happens when a franchise finally hits its breaking point. The Browns have tried everything. Coaching changes, front office shakeups, big trades, flashy signings. You name it, they've done it. And what did it all get them? A revolving door of quarterbacks, wasted seasons, and enough internal dysfunction to power an entire HBO series. But now, for once, the dysfunction isn't being glossed over. It's being named, targeted, removed. When Jeudy clashed with Shedeur, it wasn't just a personality conflict. It was symbolic. On one side, a young quarterback trying to lead, try and make something happen in a broken system. On the other, a high-paid veteran failing to deliver, and then turning around and pointing fingers. That's the exact kind of energy the Browns have been trying to exorcise for years. Because here's the cold truth. If you're a wide receiver making $17.5 million a year and a rookie tight end is outproducing you in every single category, you don't get to act like the locker room alpha. You don't get to clash with the quarterback when you can't even hit 650 receiving yards. That's not leadership. That's denial. Shedeur didn't come into this season with unrealistic expectations. He knew the line was a mess. He knew the weapons were shaky. But he still showed up every week trying to make it work. And while the numbers were far from perfect, those 10 interceptions, yeah, they hurt. He gave him enough to believe in, enough to build around. And now that the dust has settled, that's exactly what the front office is doing. They're putting real money, real picks, and real intention into rebuilding the offense. Not around egos, but around functionality. Around a quarterback who, despite all the chaos, has managed to keep his head down and stay focused. That matters. That's how you build a team that can actually win games. And while we're on the subject, can we talk about how wild it is that a rookie tight end became Sanders' security blanket this year? 72 catches, 6 touchdowns, in a system that, frankly, wasn't doing him any favors either. That kind of production doesn't just happen by accident. It means something. It means the quarterback trusted him. It means the coaching staff schemed him into important situations. It means when things broke down, and they broke down a lot, Sanders looked for the guy who actually showed up, the guy who didn't flinch, the guy who didn't make headlines for all the wrong reasons. And that brings us back to Jeudy. Because while the rookie tight end was grinding in silence, Jeudy was making noise. Not the good kind. Not the rally the locker room kind. The kind that gets you side-eyed by your teammates and quietly phased out by your coaches. And the worst part? The Browns wanted him to succeed. They paid him to be the guy. They gave him every opportunity to shine. He just didn't. So now, with the 2026 season looming, the Browns are out of patience. This isn't a let's wait and see situation anymore. It's go time. Contracts are coming due. Cap hits are stacking up. And Shedeur Sanders is reaching the point where the team either commits to him or moves on. That means the next few months aren't just about personnel decisions. They're about identity. Are the Browns going to keep dragging around the dead weight of bad contracts and locker room drama? Or are they finally going to become the team they've been pretending to be? Andrew Berry seems to have made his choice. And honestly, it's refreshing. Because instead of trying to sell fans on vague promises and recycle excuses, he's calling it like it is. The offense isn't good enough. The line is broken. The receivers are inconsistent. And unless that changes fast, nothing else will matter. Berry's plan to load up on offensive linemen isn't just smart football. It's smart business. You can't develop a quarterback who's running for his life every play. You can't ask a young player to read the field when the pocket collapses in 2 seconds. And you definitely can't evaluate your offensive weapons if your quarterback doesn't have time to throw. This isn't just theory. It's backed by data. Sack rates, time to throw metrics, pressure rates. These are the things that determine whether a quarterback survives or flames out. And Berry's finally treating those things like they matter more than highlight reels and jersey sales. That's how you build sustainable success. And the shift in receiver strategy? That's part of it too. Going after All-American guys in the draft. Players with proven discipline, work ethic, and team-first mentalities. That's not just about stats. It's about culture. About sending a message that this team is done coddling big names who don't perform. Because the Jeudy situation wasn't just a performance issue. It was a culture issue, a scheme issue, a trust issue. He didn't just drop passes. He dropped the ball on being a leader. And when he clashed with the quarterback, the guy the team is building around, it showed everyone exactly what kind of teammate he was. That's not something you can coach around. That's not something you fix with more targets. That's something you cut out. and move on from. Meanwhile, Shedeur is still here, still working, still learning, and now he's finally going to get the tools he needs to take that next step, with a better line, with more dependable weapons, with a front office that isn't lying to itself anymore. That's how you break the cycle. Because let's be honest, this isn't the first time the Browns have thrown money at a name and gotten nothing back. It's just the latest chapter in a long, exhausting pattern. Deshaun Watson, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr. So many big swings, so few home runs. But this time feels different. This time, there's an actual strategy, not just splashy press conferences and off-season hype videos. There's a clear vision. Protect the quarterback. Draft reliable talent. Build a team, not a brand. And if that means cutting ties with guys like Jeudy, so be it. Because the 2026 season is a line in the sand. The Browns either get it right or they start over. Again, Sanders' rookie deal is ticking down. Watson's contract is still eating away at their flexibility. The window is small and the pressure is real. Barry knows it. Ownership knows it. The fans definitely know it. That's why the moves they make now matter more than ever. Not just because they need wins, but because they need credibility. The kind that comes from doing things the right way, even if it's not glamorous. The kind that turns rookie flashes into franchise cornerstones. And look, none of this guarantees success. Rebuilding is always a gamble. Draft picks bust. Injuries happen. Coaches miscalculate. But what is guaranteed is this. The old way wasn't working. Throwing money at skill positions while neglecting the line. Prioritizing flash over fundamentals. Rewarding reputation instead of results. That's how you stay mediocre. So yeah, the Jerry Jeudy era in Cleveland might end with a whimper. Not with a dramatic release or a viral headline, but with a quiet acknowledgement that it just didn't work. And that's fine. Because the team finally has something more important than a highlight reel receiver. Direction. And if Sanders gets the help he needs, if the offensive line holds up, if the draft hits, if the receivers actually run their routes and catch the ball, then this team might just have a real shot. Not just at a wild card, but at respectability. At being taken seriously for once. It all starts with letting go of what isn't working. And unfortunately for Jerry Jeudy, he became the poster child for exactly that. And just when you thought the drama had hit its peak, nah, the Browns still had more plot twists. Let's talk about the front office finally waking up from a decade-long nap. Because Andrew Berry didn't just shift gears this offseason. He basically slammed the brakes, threw the old blueprint out the window, and said, "We're not doing this anymore." Gone are the days when the Browns could justify handing out oversized contracts to players like Jeudy and hoping they would eventually live up to the paycheck. That approach? Dead on arrival. The results speak for themselves, and frankly, they've been screaming for a while. Jeudy wasn't just underperforming. He was actively dragging down the offensive rhythm. When you're paid to be WR1, and you can't even eclipse 650 yards in a 17-game season, you're not just falling short. You're stalling the entire operation. And Shedeur? He's the one eating the hits. Literally. With that paper-thin offensive line, the kid was lucky to make it out of some games in one piece. He's still learning the speed of the NFL, still adjusting to tighter windows and faster defenses. But he can't even finish his progressions when the pocket collapses before his first read. So of course he's making mistakes. Interceptions, forced throws. But he's also making plays. He's shown he's got the arm, the vision, the poise. What he hasn't had is time. And now, finally, someone in the building is doing something about it. Enter Barry's trench warfare strategy. Forget highlight reel wideouts for a second. He's going full fortress mode, investing in tackles, guards, centers. People who won't show up on fantasy rosters, but will make sure Shedeur doesn't spend another season scrambling for his life. It's a direct response to the disaster they just watched unfold. And it's rooted in something the Browns have ignored for years. Structure matters more than style. Because flashy signings don't win championships, cohesive units do. Look at the elite franchises. They protect their quarterbacks like national security assets. The Browns? They've been asking theirs to play magician. And when that fails, they wonder what went wrong. And let's not forget the irony here. The most reliable target this season wasn't the expensive receiver or the veteran with pedigree. It was a rookie tight end, the guy nobody expected to lead the charge. 72 receptions, 631 yards, 6 touchdowns, and not a single sideline meltdown. No passive-aggressive quotes. Just quiet, consistent production. That kind of player is gold in this league, not just because of the numbers, but because of the message it sends. Do your job, earn your targets, build trust. Jeudy, for all his talent, did the opposite, and when he let frustration spill out in public, aim at the quarterback, no less, he basically wrote the final chapter of his Cleveland story. You don't survive that kind of moment when your stat line is pedestrian and your contract is bloated, especially not with a GM who's now laser-focused on cleaning house and getting the culture right. Barry's already signaled that those big-dollar experiments are over. The organization's learned its lesson the hard way, twice, with Watson and Jeudy. And that lesson? Salary cap albatrosses kill flexibility. They delay fixes. They punish teams that refuse to move on. And Cleveland is finally moving on. They're drafting smarter, investing in dependable talent, looking for players who can grow with Sanders, not fight him. And most importantly, they're building around the idea that quarterback development doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens in systems, in protection schemes, in timing-based offenses, in trust. The Browns are no longer betting on vibes. They're betting on infrastructure. And that's a very different vibe than we're used to. For the fans who've been here through the rotating QBs, the front office resets, the yearly meltdowns, this feels new. Nah, we're going to Super Bowl way. But in a finally, we're not lying to ourselves kind of way. And that's progress. Of course, it all hinges on this offseason. If Barry can deliver the line upgrades, if they land that all-American caliber receiver in the draft, if the locker room culture stays on track, then yeah, 2026 could be a turning point. But if the Browns get this wrong, if they stumble again, if the investments don't pan out, if they stay stuck in old patterns, then it's not just Jeudy's regret. It's Cleveland's all over again. So, how do you feel about it? Are the Browns finally making the right moves? Or are they just rearranging the deck chairs? Again, drop your take below. Hit that like button if you've had enough of the drama. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the chaos, the comebacks, and collapse that always seems one snap away.